Hey, my name's Melissa Heavener. I'm a second year here at the University of Georgia. I'm studying public relations and political science with a certificate in public affairs communication. I'm from the city of Binyan in the Philippines. I'd say there's a lot of things I'm passionate about at the University of Georgia and just kind of like in life in general. I think a lot of it has kind of been shaped by my own experiences and my own background. And so something that I am really passionate about is advocating for people that maybe can't advocate for themselves or perhaps don't have the tools to do so. I remember specifically kind of my first exposure to community service and what that looked like began in the Philippines and serving impoverished communities there. And so that I think really stemmed and really made me recognize that there's a lot of people out there that have great intentions and have every capacity that any other human being has, and they just don't have the tools to maybe provide for themselves or for their own families. So I'd say that's probably what I'm most passionate about, and I'm hoping to bring that over to wherever I end up in the world. I think there are many points in my life where I feel like I've definitely been tested and in my resilience, and resilience is a very key word I think for me, and I think it's shaped a lot of my own life experiences and how I've gotten to where I am now. I think like specifically of a time when I came to the University of Georgia and I did like sorority recruitment for the first time, and I really had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of just like thrown into it, and at the end of the day, you know, I didn't get a bid or anything, and that was a really difficult hardship for me, just because like it really kind of served at that confirmation bias, I think, that like I don't belong here, and so that was a really difficult hardship. But at the end of the day, like honestly, if it wasn't for that no, I don't think I would have applied for first year programs with SGA, and I don't think I would be in any of the places I am now if it weren't for that hard no to kind of make me reassess and like pick myself up and kind of just, you know, keep knocking on those doors, because one of them is going to bound to be open at one point. My transition to the U.S. was definitely an interesting one. My dad is a U.S. citizen, and so I learned a lot from him growing up, and so it wasn't that crazy of a culture shock in terms of like things like English and kind of idioms here and there. But I think definitely the social aspect was the most difficult, I think, coming to the U.S. I think I was dealing with a lot in this transition period between this new chapter of my life in college, but also just this new country and what it looked like, and just kind of what was the social norms, which is very different from the Philippines, where, you know, everyone kind of looked like me, everyone kind of had the same kind of life experiences. And then coming here, whether that be a combination of being in the United States or being in a university campus where there's just a plethora of different types of people with so many different backgrounds and so many different stories. And so that transition period was a little bit difficult, just because it was just a lot happening at once and it was very overwhelming. But honestly, if it weren't for the people that just like opened up and said like, hey, you might be struggling, but like I struggled before, and like you get through it, and this is how you do it. I think if it weren't for those mentors in my life, it would have been a lot more difficult. And I'm so glad and grateful that I found a lot of those mentors at the University of Georgia from the get-go. And I don't think I'd, you know, be here talking to a camera about these experiences if it weren't for those mentors that really like took my hand and took a chance on someone that was just so lost. I think a time that I just remember being so overjoyed and just so happy was it was my first year, it was my second semester at the University of Georgia, so it was the fall 2017, I want to say, and I was going home for Thanksgiving break because my parents kind of got a house not that far from here, and they decided to live there kind of part of the time. And I remember coming home and they didn't tell me, and I opened the door and there was like a little white dog in front of me, and for me that was a really just an emotional time, just because it really kind of re-solidified a lot of things. I think for me it really pointed out that, you know, my parents are setting their roots in America, and they're planning on staying here a little bit longer and in the long term, and so they'll be a little bit closer to me. And so because that dog kind of like symbolized kind of setting their roots in the US, really made me feel so good that like my family is here, and my home is where my people are, and not necessarily a location. And so I think that was just like a fun moment, because I got to see my parents, we had a dog, which I felt like we were just going back and forth between being in the Philippines and being here, and so having a dog here really tied us to the US and to Georgia. And so that was just, it kind of bundled a lot of emotions kind of in that dog, and I just really love her. Her name's Abby, and she is super great. I think my biggest piece of advice I can give anyone is kind of, this is a word that just kind of sticks out to me, and that's resilience. I think there's a lot of things that life can throw at you and a lot of things that you can't predict, but the only thing we can control is how we react to it. And so whether that be, you know, a hardship that you're facing, or whatever adversity that you're facing, kind of come at it from a place of resilience and knowing that, like, you know, just keep knocking on those doors, because at one point one of them is going to open for you. And so I think that's really important, is that, you know, although you might be getting a no now, like, that might end up becoming your biggest yes for later on.
My name is Kamsi Ubezanu. I'm a sophomore at the University of Georgia, majoring in psychology. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to inspire people. So the closest way towards that in a professional setting is psychology. So regardless on the scale, be like multitudes or like one-on-one, I just want to make someone happy, fuel someone's passion to do something. My passion is to fuel your passion, if that makes sense. Make someone feel better, give somebody hope. I'm Igbo. That's the tribe I'm from in Nigeria. There are 3 major tribes: Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausa. The culture's as different as it can get. It's like seeing a Frenchman and an Italian man. It's not the same. It's so different as to, my name alone is for my tribe. Like, I could never be a Yoruba person named Kamsi, if that makes sense. So the languages are completely different. The cultures are completely different. I feel like a really big thing in, I don't want to generalize, Nigerian culture is respect. That's like foundation. And sometimes it's even respect, not even by, sometimes it's by age, but most, especially when you're in a school setting, it's by class. Like, I'm a really young person. I'm actually 18. I just turned 18, and I'm a sophomore. So even in Nigeria, so when I was a senior, I just turned 16 years old. So there would be, and I went to boarding school also, so there would be people in younger grades than me that are way older than me, but they have to give me the utmost respect. Because that's like, respect is like law in Nigeria. And sometimes even to a sense of irrational like respect, if that makes sense. Which is something that's also, you know, not the best that you try to work against. Like, even if the senior, let me call the senior, the person older than you by class or by age is incorrect or telling you to do things that you don't want to do, and you refuse to do it, it's seen as disrespect, which isn't always the best sometimes, but sometimes is. So even as I'm here now, I'm like here in college, and I see how people interact, like sometimes I would see like a freshman and a senior, and they're arguing, and the person's like talking back. Like sometimes I'm so shocked because it's like so uncommon. I'd be dazed. Like I'd be so confused. Respect is earned isn't really what is practiced in Nigeria. Respect should be given. That's what's practiced. But what's practiced here is you treat people with respect to receive respect. And I actually really like that. I do. Sometimes I feel people misinterpret it. So people disrespect you regardless of whether you treat them with respect, which, you know, tends to raise my blood pressure a little bit. But I think that has definitely changed my views. You know, how when we greet, even our like closest friends, their parents, like it would be auntie this, uncle this, like it would never ever be first named. Even your favorite teacher in the whole world, it would never be like their first name. It would have to be Mr. this or Mr. that. So that's also a different thing. Greetings are very different. Even if I've seen you 50 times, if I see you again, I still have to say good afternoon, Mr. this, good afternoon, Mrs. this. When I came to University of Georgia, it's of course a predominantly white institution. That's not something that's really echoed in Nigeria. I feel like America focuses so much on separation and focuses so much on you're different. They focus so much on classifying and grouping people into different things. So I remember like 2 weeks into the school year, someone was like, oh, that they're the only black person in their class. And I had to go back, and I was probably the only black person in like 2 of my classes, but I didn't even realize it because that's not something that's a big deal or taught, or if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. That's not something that's anything at all. Like you're just a person. Like that's how I was raised, seeing people. And as I've grown, you know, my opinion on that has changed back and forth because there are very good reasons on both ends on why I see this is important and why I see this is not. A lot of people love to group and classify and stereotype, And that's just not how I was brought up, especially on a larger scale. I'm a person before I'm Nigerian, before I'm black, and some people see it as, these things need to be identified so that these cultures can be represented, which is a good argument. But sometimes people lose sight of that and just try so hard to group you or make you, or when I'm talking to an individual that isn't like African or black, they just try so hard to like, just bring up something African to make it feel like, and I'm like, we do regular things too. I wouldn't even say regular, we're people too. Or people would be like, if I'm in a car, they try their best to play like Nigerian music, which funny enough, I barely listen to. Like, I love Ariana Grande, I love Beyonce. So I guess it's that trying their best not to be offensive, or trying their best to understand, and overdoing it to the point where it's a bit annoying, where it looks like you're mocking the person. But meanwhile, they have good intentions. So that's a fine place, trying to know whether it's balanced, or whether this person is disrespectful. That's been, I wouldn't say difficult, but a bit challenging. But I think I'm fine. I see the fine line.
Hi, my name's Jim Adams. I live in downtown Athens. I have Adams Optics downtown. We make prescription eyeglasses. I also live downtown. I live a block away. I started this store about 43 years ago when I was your age. And Athens is a good town. It's a little oasis. It's a different world, 10 miles in any direction from here. When I moved to town, there were 3 major department stores downtown, and then the mall came and sucked all the business from downtown, including the 3 major stores, but it created a lot of opportunities for small merchants to come in, which I was one, and still am, and it created a lot of opportunities. Now our mall sucks and everything's gone away, but downtown's still cool. It has too many places to drink. I wish it had more retail, but it's got great restaurants. Owning my own store is about the only way I could do it. I've never had a boss, which is great. I don't take directions very well. It's best for me. Everybody needs one great friend, at least one that's got your back. That'll call bullshit if you're doing something stupid. Everybody needs that. She's a sweetie. She's with me 24 hours a day.
That is awesome.
My name's Chip Chandler. I'm 43 years old, and I've lived in Athens for 43 years. So I was born here in 1975 at that time Athens General Hospital is what it was called back then. It's now Piedmont Hospital. So pretty much lived all over Athens throughout my life. My mom managed apartment complexes for the students, so we moved around a lot to different apartment complexes. So I kind of got a chance to experience a lot of different schools in Athens. It wasn't really until I was in middle school where I finally kind of settled into one location, and I ended up going to high school at Clark Central in Athens and graduated there in 1994. After that, I worked several different jobs, but for a long time I worked as an assistant store manager for a home improvement retailer, and then became a sales rep for a hardware manufacturer. Did that for many years, and then when the housing boom or bust happened, being in the building industry wasn't good, so I decided to take a swing at medical equipment sales, so I started doing that, and that's what I currently do as my regular daytime job. And then I'm definitely an entrepreneur at heart, so I decided to start this little mini cab business here in downtown Athens. So basically by day I pedal and sell medical equipment, and by night I drive a mini cab in Athens. That's obviously an interesting time because I get to interact with students and alumni and really just all kinds of different people that ride on the mini cab, and obviously get to hear some great stories. I hate to say it, but eavesdrop on them a little bit. But it's been a cool experience and been a lot of fun since we started this a couple of months ago. I don't know, I've seen Athens change a ton over the years, especially since growing up here. You know, I remember when downtown was vibrant with department stores like JCPenney's and Belk and Macy's. And then when the mall was built in the early 1980s, basically everything vacated downtown. It was literally like a ghost town down here. And there was very little business and just not a lot of activity. And then the music scene happened in Athens, and all these indie bands started popping up, and all of a sudden it became trendy to be downtown again, and bars that were located, you know, maybe outside of the downtown area started opening downtown, and then restaurants and retail, and all of a sudden, you know, downtown Athens became a really cool place to be in, a cool place to hang out. And just Athens in general became a pretty good town, you know, kind of known for its music scene and you know, nightlife, and being the university being a major party school, and that attracted more people to come down and spend time in Athens. So I feel really fortunate living here. I did spend about 2 years living in South Florida for one of the companies I worked for, and one thing I always said when I had the opportunity to move back is I would never leave Athens again because it's the greatest place on earth, and I just feel like it's a great place to live. It really is a melting pot of all kinds of different people, and I think one of the experiences really cool about living here is you get the culture and the atmosphere of a large city and an international city, even though again it's small, like a small town vibe to it as well. Again, you might interact with a student that's from Pakistan one day, talk to him about his experiences, and the next day you may be talking to someone who's from Atlanta, and the next day it could be someone from New Jersey. So I really feel like you get to interact with a lot of different type of people living here. So anyway, it's you know, I think it's a great town. I think it's great growing up here and living here, and you know, I'm just thankful that I get to, you know, spend my time downtown, you know, interacting with all the great people that visit Athens on a daily basis.
'Cause I need this more than I knew, more than I'd like, more than you do. 'Cause I need this more than I knew, more than I'd like.